All right. Hello to our Friday SEO tip. My name is Chris Rolfe. I'm the founder of Boulder SEO Marketing. Daniel?
I am Daniel Burns, the operations officer here, making sure everything's running smoothly.
All right. Talking about running smoothly. Today we want to talk about a very important topic that will affect your SEO if you don't pay attention to it. So in short, one of our customers, they didn't pay attention that their domain was expiring. A lot of customers, they take care of, tracking the information themselves. So we also didn't notice it. And all of a sudden the website was gone, right? We're getting a call. It's like, hey, what's going on? The website is gone, etc., etc. So today we want to talk about the importance of keeping track of, domain registration, keeping credit cards updated, etc. Right, Daniel?
Yeah, and this is a really tricky one too, because most people, including me, you set the domain registration to automatically renew. So for the most part, it's something that happens in the background automatically, right? And it's something that you end up forgetting about because it just happens. But what happens, there's two big causes that cause issues. Number one, you usually have a credit, if you have it on auto renewal, you have a credit card on there that automatically renews the account. And what happens is the credit cards will get to a point where they don't work anymore. And if that renewal has to happen and the credit card on file is not active anymore, the renewal doesn't happen, right? So what should happen is you get a notification. But for whatever reason, if the email that originally got registered, if it was somebody else that registered, or you're not receiving those notifications, you do not get a notification that there's an issue with the renewal. In the past, it didn't matter because it happened automatically, but now all of a sudden you need to get a notification so you can jump on there and update the credit card. And if you don't, then what's going to happen is the domain will get expired and the website will go down. So this actually prompted us to include checking this domain registration as part of our onboarding now. So when we onboard a new client, there's two things that we're going to check, and Chris will show you as well. Number one, when is the current domain going to expire? And number two, a reminder for the owner to make sure that the email for notifications on there is something that they receive. Very important. And also as a double check, make sure that the credit card that's on file is valid. So those are three things that when we onboard a new client, we make sure that we work with them so they can double check to make sure that information's on there.
All right, cool. So let's jump into screen sharing here. I'll put the link to this tool into description in the YouTube video. We're actually using the free version of this tool. It's called iwebcheck.com. So basically, run your website through this tool, head down to SEO Authority. Right here, domain age. Daniel, let's quickly talk about domain age, or like the importance of the domain age for SEO. Actually, I'm going to take that. Okay. So basically, a lot of spammers, they will register a website for a year, the minimum time that you can register a website, and then they let it expire. So Google likes to see that, your website has been around for a few years. In this case, our own website has been around for 10 years, 5 months, and 17 days. So that shows Google that, we're the real deal, we're a real business. We've been in business for a while. So it's really good for your SEO. All right, then Daniel, you already touched upon this, domain expiration. Check this out, Daniel. Our own website is actually expiring in 6 months. I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, and that is a little scary because, again, we didn't look at it until we were going to do this video, and we're like, oh no, 6 months. Scary for two reasons, because I personally don't know if the automatic renewal is going to work or not. So I don't want to wait until that expires to automatically renew. So I actively want to go in there and do two things. Again, like I mentioned, make sure that, the credit card on file is active and the, email notifications are coming to me. But what I also like to do is I like to go ahead and renew the domain for as long as I can. Every domain registrar will allow you to do it for X amount of years. That is good because of two things. Number one, peace of mind. As an owner, I know that I'm set for X amount of years. But number two, Another signal that Google takes in consideration as well is the amount of time that a domain is registered for. The same way that you have the domain history, you've had it for a long time and it's a serious website. It also looks at, hey, this owner is, going to have this website up for at least another 2-3 years. So it shows commitment from the website owner with with extending this expiration date as far into the future as possible. Google likes to see that.
Absolutely. Then let's click on security down here. So why don't we take a look at, so basically you're going to see server information, then HTTPS. Daniel, do you want to quickly talk about the importance of HTTPS and how to keep track of, make sure the certificate does not expire? Looks like we're fine until next June.
Yeah, so what you see there, actually, the certificates that we use are provided by WP Engine, which is the hosting company we recommend for WordPress websites, and they actually renew it every year. So that is usually something that automatically gets renewed. One way to check to see if it's working is coming here. The other way to check to see if it's working is they'll let you know, because what happens is HTTPS now has become the standard. Every website needs to be running HTTPS, period. That's almost a Google requirement now. And if it doesn't have an HTTPS, the browser will actually give you a notification saying that these pages aren't safe, right? It's just going to say HTTP and without the S. And essentially what the SSL does is it encrypts all the information that comes from the server to your browser and from the browser back to the server. It encrypts it so people that are, kind of reaching that communication of back and forth between you and the server can't really see what that information is. So back in the days, a few years back, it was an option. Nowadays, it's really a must, especially for SEO.
Absolutely. Safe browsing. Just a quick word about safe browsing as well.
Yeah, so safe browsing, again, Google is essentially saying that your website is safe to be browsed, right? They check your URL against Google's, list of phishing and malware pages. So if your website is listed anywhere, they're going to consider this domain not safe to browse, essentially. So it's good that, you're getting a green check mark on that one.
Awesome. All right. You definitely want to make sure that your IP is not blacklisted, right? Your website and IP. It can happen. Sometimes you potentially sit on another server with a potential spammer, right? This could affect your IP, where potentially your website, your IP could get blacklisted. Have you seen this before, Daniel?
Not only have we seen it, but it affects SEO tremendously, right? Because if your IP, meaning your website, is blacklisted for spam, you're going to lose your rankings, because essentially Google doesn't want to drive people to that website. So yes, we've seen that. Sometimes it happens because people are sending out blast emails from their domain, from their IP, which we highly recommend against. If you're going to be doing blasts, definitely do it using a third-party system, but never use a plugin in WordPress to shoot out hundreds and thousands of emails, because that's what's going to, that's one of the reasons that you can get spammed, blacklisted. And like you said, you might be in a shared environment with other websites in the same IP that gets the whole IP. So it's very important to always check that and immediately try to clean that, because the minute that you get penalized for blacklist spam and you lose those rankings, it's hard to get them back, or it's a long process to get them back. So it's always important to keep an eye on this.
Oh boy, look at that. My email address is in plain sight. So that's not ideal. That's why I'm getting a lot of spam emails, right? So make sure, don't put up real email addresses, have a form, contact us, or try to disguise your email address, so that the bots don't pick it up. You could do info and then, parentheses at or whatever, or just don't put up your email addresses in plain sight. We're going to have to find where that email address is displayed. Directory browsing. I guess we are doing well there. Daniel, do you?
Yeah. So what this is like back in the days, what you could do is, if you have, the URL is, Boulder SEO marketing / category pages / services, and then you're looking at the page, you could actually go to the URL and then just delete the page name and go to the directory and see a list of files on the server. That's what directory browsing is. And most people, that was really open to the public back in the days. You don't want to do that. So Google automatically turns that off, which means that you can't look at the directory listing of everything that's in the server just by navigating through the browser. You can actually turn that off, which again, they don't recommend, but by default, this is already turned off, which is the way you want to keep it.
Cool. And then who is privacy information? Just a quick word about that.
Yeah. So lastly, when you register a domain name, you can you have the option to put your information in there. So people that are doing research on the domain name will see who the owner is, who the administrative contact is, and the technical contact is. Or you have the option to do a private registration, which is what you see here, right? So essentially the owner of this domain name is Chris, but you don't see Chris's name and information anywhere on here. So number one, it gives privacy to a company, but number two, it mostly prevents Chris from getting a lot of spam, which, spammers can actually pick up his information from here.
Cool. And then server signature, last but not least.
Yeah, no, I'll talk about that too. So essentially, server signature means that this one here does not provide the version information. So it doesn't provide what version of the server and server software, because if you give too many details about, where the website is running and what software it's running and what version is running, it makes it much easier for hackers to understand what the system is and hack into it. So, by hiding the server signature, it's really more of a black box for them, not understanding exactly what operation system's running in there.
Cool, cool. So yeah, although not directly related to SEO, not what we do every day here at Boulder SEO Marketing, I mean, this really has an impact on the work that we do for our clients. It's critically important. Daniel, it's part of our onboarding process now. Any last tips before we wrap this up here?
No, that's it. It is very important for SEO, because a lot of SEO work that you do over years, if something like this happens, you can get set back tremendously. So it's extremely important.
All right, cool. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Stay safe and healthy. And I hope you enjoyed this Friday SEO tip. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.